This is the Women's Hockey Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Women's Hockey Life Podcast, empowering women and girls in hockey. We'll be talking in depth about what it really takes to be unstoppable on the ice and in life. We'll be looking at the mindset of the most successful women and those who helped them along the way, like our guest today has done for so many, as they mastered the game and went on to even bigger successes in life because they mastered it. This podcast is brought to you by our friends over at the Hockey News and Sports Illustrated. Go to thn.com/deal to subscribe to their magazine today. He is a best-selling author, a certified human behavior specialist and master trainer. He's also a performance mindset coach and keynote speaker, and is the dad to 4 daughters. I had the honor and privilege of working firsthand with him while coaching at the University of Connecticut, as he empowered us as coaches to learn and understand and know how to communicate with each individual player on our team to get the most out of them. Joining us from Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, Gordon Macfarlane, welcome to the show.
Great to be here. Great to be here. Thank you for having me. It's wonderful. We are fellow podcasters, of course, and it's always wonderful to get on another podcast with someone else and talk to them about what they do. And I love what you do, obviously. We've known each other for a while now, and I highly respect what you bring to the game. So it's great to be here.
Well, it's our honor and privilege to have you here. You're a wealth of information, and I'm excited for our listeners to get to know you, what you do, how you do it. Let's go back, though, and start from the beginning. Jot form if you need to, whatever works for you. But just talk to our listeners about you. Like, where'd you grow up? How'd you get involved in the game, coaching, and basically becoming this influential leader? Like, you're amazing at what you do.
Well, thank you.
Where did it all start?
This will take a few minutes, so just bear with me as I go through the chronological steps of, being born in 1958. I'm an old guy. I'm in my 60s now, and in fact, I'm going to be 62 in a few days, probably 9 days. So I was born in Montreal. Grew up there, and growing up in the 60s with the 6-team NHL. I loved playing hockey, but I did dabble in baseball and soccer. And I'm from a family of 6, so I have 4 sisters. And I have an older brother, so I'm in the middle of the pack. I'm the third in the family, so that usually that's the black sheep, and I played that part very well. And so my mom and my dad and my grandparents, we all lived together in a 1,200 square foot home, and it was very interesting, to say the least. We were rather dysfunctional as a family, but I loved to get out and play sports. Sports was my release. Sports is where I found my solace. And so I played a lot, but I was a goalie. I was a goaltender up until the age of 16. And then I played low-level competitive at that level. I didn't really, my dad wasn't willing to travel, so I stayed more locally with the local competitive teams, but I loved to skate. And when I was 16, I stopped playing for a little bit, and I just wanted to focus on skating. And for 3 years, I started training myself in skating. I would go to the outdoor rinks because I couldn't afford to go to the indoor rinks, but I played with players that were way better than me. And so I became this really good skater. I got certified as a power skating instructor, and I started teaching power skating, and I started to like the idea of coaching. And I started coaching in 1979. And so I've been coaching for 40 years. I started coaching hockey in 1979. And our very first season, we won a league championship, and I was hooked. In the same year, right, I started my sales career because I needed to make money. Midget B hockey, it wasn't making me any money. So I started selling in the printing industry and graphic arts. So I'm going to compress the story a little bit here just to say that I ended up getting training in hockey through Hockey Canada. Ended up in the early days, through the early 1980s, I ended up being a level 4, level 5 coach and got trained all the way in Calgary. And I started coaching in 1981-82 in the junior B level, which is equivalent to junior A today. I ended up going to a hockey camp in 1982 where I met the coach of the Colby College Mules, Mickey Goulet. It was Division II, and I was a goalie coach. And so he said, "Hey, Gord, we don't have a goalie coach. Would you like to come and help me out part-time? Just come down, stay with us, and work with my goalies." I said, "Sure." So I became the goalie coach of the Colby College team from 1982 to 1987. At that same time that year, I signed a semi-pro contract with an upcoming team in Valleyfield as a player, not as a goalie, because I was a good skater, but they also needed a coach. Now, they were a little short on players, so I signed a player-coach contract, right? So I did more coaching than I did playing, but I was part of a semi-pro team as a player coach. I met my wife in the fall, in the winter of 1982. She was an usherette at the old Montreal Forum. We went down to see a buddy of mine who was coming in from Detroit with the Red Wings to play Mark Osborne. And so Mark invited me and the head coach of this Valleyfield team down. And he says, "Hey, Gord, you're single right now. I want to introduce you to a female hockey player." Now, in 1982, there wasn't very many female hockey players. She played hockey at the University of Concordia, and I couldn't understand how this little tiny girl could play hockey, but I fell in love with her. She was like awesome. So we got married in 1984, and we've been married now together for 36 years, been together for 38. We have 4 grown daughters and soon to be 10 grandkids. We have 9 grandkids, and my oldest daughter's pregnant with another one. So after Colby, let's fast forward. After Colby in 1988, I was asked to coach at McGill University. I did that for 4 years, and I really enjoyed working at the university level, and I learned a lot. I learned a tremendous amount working in the CIAU back then with head coach John Pronovo, former NHLer, great friend of mine, and we met a lot of really cool people through the hockey world in Montreal, of course, being with the Canadiens and all the different teams that were available there in Montreal and the Quebec Major Junior League and so on. But I also, in my sales career, I attended a sales conference, really important to the story here. In 1991, I attended a sales conference that taught me the first time about personalities, right? The book that I purchased there, the lady by the name of Florence Littauer was speaking at this conference, and she was speaking about Personality Plus. And my wife and I attended the session together because we were building a multi-level marketing business together. And this was a sales conference for that, but it changed our lives. It changed our lives. We eventually moved to Ottawa in 1999, and that's the second part of my story when I started to work at the University of Ottawa. Mickey Goulet, who was the former coach at Colby, was now the head coach at Ottawa U. He asked me to come and join him there because now I was living in Ottawa, right? And so I started coaching with Mickey at the University of Ottawa. And then we brought Mark Robitaille in as a goalie coach in my second year, but I was just certified as a human behavior consultant with personality insights. And I got my first gig in 2001 as a performance mindset coach. He says, "Well, what do you call yourself?" I said, "Well, I guess I'm a performance mindset coach." Yeah, that's what I am. So that was my title. And I started, and nobody knew what that was. So I had to explain to them what that was. I just published my book, Become a Person of Influence, which was published in 2002. The second publication was published in 2004. And that's a bestseller in both Canada and the United States. And I created that mindset coach title in that second year. And I haven't looked back. It's been a great run. And that's where we developed our company, Coaching to Connect. And that's what I've been doing for the last 20 years.
And that's how
that's a long story compressed.
But no, that's amazing. I love it. And it gives a little bit of background to our listeners. And It's funny, like right away, middle child, black sheep. And I'm raising my hand over here like, yep, me too. That's exactly me. I get it. But that's what makes you unique and amazing is you were ahead of your time.
Somewhat,
You were like, what's a performance mindset coach, right? Like you just
said.
They
still don't know what that is.
Exactly. And you did it way before everyone else is jumping on this on the bandwagon, right? And again, that's how we connected. We met was through your company, Coaching to Connect. I was coaching at UConn, University of Connecticut, and you changed the way that we coached, or at least personally for me. I shouldn't speak on behalf of the others, but I know that they do feel the same way. But
Chris has mentioned that to me. Mark and I have worked there a lot. We've been there. We've been there 5-6 years now.
Yes, you have. Because I think it was back in 2014 that we met, or somewhere around. I don't even know.
Yeah,
I don't even know what day it is today, Gordon. But but you were instrumental in us becoming better coaches and learning how to coach our players because everyone has a different personality.
Yes.
And I would butcher it, so I'm going to ask you: can you, as quickly as possible, which is a hard question or thing to do, is explain what this DISC method is?
It's a great question. I'll try to do it justice in just a few moments, but I think it's really just a language of human behavior. It's one that, and I've studied other languages. Like when I took my Dale Carnegie training as a sales rep in 1987, it was the human relations approach to selling. And my first knowledge with Florence Littauer was a little bit different, and it was kind of hard to remember. And so I was looking for a model that was going to be really easy to remember for people to learn. And I found that in the DISC model when I met Dr. Robert Rome in 1996, and I heard him I was at a conference. There was 20,000 people in the Atlanta Dome for this major conference, and he was speaking, and I was gobsmacked. I was like, wow, this is exactly what I'm looking for. I rush down to the table. He's a 6'2", and I look up to him. I said, man, I want to do what you do. Like, can we talk? And he says, and he's from Alabama, but he lives in Atlanta. He says, well, Gordon, I'd love to work with you, but I'm busy right now. He says, why don't you buy a book and we'll get back in touch? So I bought a book, and that started my relationship at a distance with Dr. Robert Rome. So the DISC model, why I like the DISC model, it's a human behavior language, and it follows the model D, I, S, and C. So think of a circle, a disc. So in a clockwise fashion, D, I, S, and C. So the D personality is outgoing task. The I personality is outgoing people. So there's two different outgoing styles. There's two reserved styles called the C and the S. So the C is cautious, the S is supportive, the I is influential, and the D is dominant or driving. So every one of us has all four of those personalities within us, some to a greater, some to a lesser degree. So we provide a very quick assessment, and you tell me who you are. Nobody knows you better than you. So you do this assessment, it's a self-assessment, and then I get to tell you how to use those skills, how to use those behavioral traits to be the best version of yourself. But I realize this, that not many people today know very much about psychometric tools. But the DISC model of human behavior is two things. Why I like it. It's easy to learn and it's easy to remember. The benefit is that I know there's two things that you and I know as coaches, and we talked about this, is that when we have someone's personality, we know what their basic needs are and we know what they like and what they don't like. And that's a tremendous advantage. When you know those things as a coach, you can really help those athletes be all they could be.
And that was what was the game changer for us is, I'm an SC. So yeah. I'm people oriented, task oriented, not really as outgoing as the D's and the I's, right? So when
when you want to be.
So that's where I'm getting the question. It's like, I'm going to ask you already. But so like hockey is a D sport. I know that because you taught me that. And I get that because it's driven, goal oriented. Let's get results. So for someone like me, who is an SC, or someone who is an I, or whatever it may be, can you change your personality?
Great question.
What can it be changed?
What I tell people all the time is that your personality is DNA based. When you're born, you're actually in utero. We've seen videos of twins. You have twins, so you'll appreciate this. We've seen videos of children in utero, and where we can actually see their personality at work. You'll see one kid pushing the other child to the other side of the womb, right? And the other one's in the corner, kind of huddled in the fetal position, while the other one is kind of pushing on them, right? And so we make notifications on the bodies, and we know, okay, who's coming out? Okay. So that aggressive personality is actually coming out first. Surprise, surprise, right? And so they come out, and then you mark them, and you kind of follow along, and you see that one's an outgoing personality, one's a reserved personality. You could actually see that behavior unfolding in utero, which is really, and that was an eye opener for me. I'm going, okay. So, because I questioned someone, what do you mean it's a DNA based personality? You're born with it. You're given that personality. It's part of your DNA strand. So to answer your question, personality doesn't change. What ends up changing is attitude and behavior based on life experience, your family culture, how you were raised. If kids are raised in a bad environment where the parents are always getting into trouble, they're in trouble with the law, they end up in prison, or guess what? The kids are 90% likely to follow that same path. Whereas if a family is all about academics and going to school and becoming professionals and becoming a keen part of society, you have a 90 to 95% chance that those kids will follow the same path, right? So it's behavior, attitude, personal culture, family culture, morals, and all those things that you're taught become part of the add-on package to your base DNA personality, which is given to you at birth, even before birth, at conception.
Well, apparently I should have been paying more attention at when I had my twins and doing the ultrasounds and everything, but I think I got them nailed down pretty well. And I know that their personality.
Well, here's the interesting, Jaclyn, is that we can do profiles as early as age 4.
How?
We don't use words, we use pictures. You know as well as I do that with your little ones, right?
They're 4 and a half.
So little ones actually know themselves quite well. If you show a picture and say, well, would you like to do this, 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 or this? They said, no, I'd like to do that. Oh, I don't like that guy. Right. My little Huntley, she's 3 or 4 years old in preschool. She already knows what she doesn't like. Do you like that person? Oh, he scares me. I don't like him. Right. Do you like, oh, I like him. He makes me laugh. They already know. And so part of your disposition and part of your knowledge of other people is that through interaction. We were created for relationships, right? And so we find that young kids are they're very honest, extremely honest, right? And
Yes.
so they're not afraid to say, I like that, I don't like that. And that's the premise of personalities. It's what you like most and what you like least.
Yep.
No one knows you better than you. So I don't tell you who you are. You tell me who you are. I teach you how to do, and that's what we do together at UConn, right? We tell those athletes, hey, we know who you are. This is where you're going to shine. This is where you're going to struggle a bit, but we're going to help you to become more efficient and more transparent in those areas, right? So to me, the DISC model is the easiest one. And for me, teaching people about themselves and some of the untapped things they never knew about themselves is very gratifying. As a trainer, facilitator, and you as a coach would do the same things. It's pretty rewarding, when you can take people from where they think they could go to where they know they can go. Right.
Yep.
It's a pretty cool thing as a coach. So I've been all over the world, with this as an author. We did a book launch for an organization. I've been in Europe, all over Asia. And it's interesting to me that, the message of DISC and the message of becoming a person of influence is amazing. It's astounding to me that how many people's lives have been changed dramatically. I had a couple stop me. I'll never forget it. I was in Newark, New Jersey, and I was getting ready to board a flight. I'm going down the concourse, and this couple comes scuff up to me, and they say, "Hey, you're Gord Macfarlane. You're Gord Macfarlane." I'm thinking, like, I don't know these people from Adam, right? And so we heard you speak at a conference in Charlotte, North Carolina. I'm thinking, Charlotte, North Carolina. There was 10,000 people there. Right. I spoke at a conference there, 10,000 people, but this couple recognized me. They bought my book. They purchased the profiles, and they said, "We just want to thank you." I'm going, "Okay, what are you thanking me for?" "You saved our marriage." I'm going, "I saved your marriage?" Yeah. What we learned about each other was that, my husband is a very driven person. I'm a very reserved person. We just thought that, well, we weren't meant to be together. But what you taught us is that people don't do things to you. They do things for themselves. And sometimes we just get in the way. We were just getting in each other's way. When we realize that, we've never been happier. So thank you. And I'm going like, wow, like that blew my mind. My wife says small explosion, but that blew my mind.
Yeah. And that's the one quote that I know we talked about this earlier, but like, that's the one, like, if there's one thing I could say that I remembered from your talks, and we worked a lot together over the years at UConn, but it was that, like, people don't do things to you. They do them for themselves.
Mm,
And if you can understand that and have the self-awareness and confidence and just knowing that that's the truth. Like, if I
yeah,
offend you or if I hurt you, it's because I did it for me. That was not my intention, was to hurt you
yeah,
or anyone else. And
yeah,
I think, kind of getting back to the coaching or the hockey perspective with all this, like, this is where we're always trying to find ways to help players be better. Like, obviously there's nutrition, there's mindset, there's on ice skills, off ice skills, the tactical, technical, all that stuff. But this is, I feel like, one of the biggest pieces that most people don't focus on is knowing themselves, but then
yeah,
also knowing who their teammates are and
yeah.
knowing who their coaches are. But on the flip side, coaches getting to know who their players are. I feel like they think they know, they might know, depending on their personality. Maybe there's ego involved, maybe there isn't. So
Yeah.
how do you get a coach to buy into this?
I don't. I can't
Love
make
it.
someone buy into it. If you're not convinced that the mental side of the game is where you need to work, and I've been trying for years. You and I have been trying for years to try to talk to other coaches, say this is important, right? And when Mark and I were thinking of the name of the company, I thought, and when I had a conversation with him, because I coached his son in hockey. When Mark and I met, I was coaching his son in hockey, and I sent his son home with the personality profile, and I said, take these home, show your parents, and let's see if they have any questions. And I wanted the parents to understand what we were doing. And so he called me the next day, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to have a coffee with you." So we had a coffee, and he said, "I'd like to work, maybe could you bring this training to I'm running a leadership program with the federal government. Would you be willing to come and share this concept with my leaders?" And I said, "Sure." And I went on the Monday morning, and we've been working together ever since. Our company is called Coaching to Connect, right? It's called Coaching to Connect. So, but I can't make anybody, Jaclyn, you can't make anybody do this. So here's the question. I ask coaches all the time. I say, what part of the game is mental versus physical? Is it 50-50, 60-40, 80-20, 90-10? What do you think it is? Right? What I know, it's more, but most coaches will say, well, it's got to be more than 50%. I said, okay, well, what do you think it is? Because I'll give you the analytics review of what that is. They say, well, I don't know, probably 75-25, 60-40. I said, well, you're close. The analytic studies over the last 20 to 30 years has been 80-20, 80% mental, 20% physical. If you're getting into a specialty sport or a position like goaltending, it's 90-10. The higher you go in your field, the better you become technically and transactionally at what you do, the less physical it requires, the more mental it requires. So professionals, it's more mental than it is physical. So here's my next question. How much mental are you working on right now? What are you doing mentally for your athletes to perform at a high level? And they go, um, um, I'm not doing anything. Okay, that's why you need us. It depends. What do you want to do? You want to leave now, for me as a coach, I want the 4 years as a college coach. I want the 4 years of my college athletes to attend my program to be the best 4 years of their life. I'm shaping them through the sport of hockey, soccer, baseball, football, field hockey, rugby, whatever it is. I'm shaping those young athletes to live their life, what they learn through team sports and individual sports. You know this because you're an athlete. You know this because you're a coach, and we've had the experience of doing this. We can do such a better job. If I wait for 2 years to get to know you, Jaclyn, I've wasted 2 years of being able to influence you. But if I know you right away, I'm recruiting you because you're an SC. I need you on my team because you're good at connecting my team. You're the glue. I'm going to teach you how to be more assertive and more aggressive when you need to be so you can visit that D quadrant, but I'll teach you that. That's my job as a coach. But I want you for your relational skills to make sure that we come together as a synergistic unit so we can operate and collaborate together. So I don't make anybody take our program. What is it? You can lead a horse to water, but you cannot make him drink.
Yep.
Right? What I do is I put salt in their oats and I make them thirsty.
That's awesome. That is actually the best. I'm not great with expressions, but you nailed that. And putting salt in the road is the best way to get them to that water.
You got to make them thirsty,
Yeah.
make them thirsty. I said, well, he asked a question. Well, what's your goal here at the university? What's your goal here in junior? Well, we need to win hockey games. We need to win hockey games. Okay. Well, how are you going to do that? Well, we got to get the best players. You want to get the best players or you want to get the best people? What are you trying to build? Are you trying to build a culture? Because if you can build a culture, you and I know this, we talk about this all the time. If we can build a culture, you and I can do what we do best, which is train our athletes. We can teach them skill. But we're going to have a hard time breaking their personal culture if they were raised in an environment and they're not really good people. Yep. But if they're really good people, we got a really good chance to build an amazing culture. And if we build an amazing culture, that team will come together like glue. And they'll be, we've proved it in the college ranks. Colby College.
Well, I was just going to say with Colby College, even like on the women's side, like Colgate.
Yep.
Colgate. That was a success story. That was unbelievable. You guys walked in, helped their program, which is how I think we ended up hearing about you and got you guys on board. But you turned that program around and it was everything in the locker room. It wasn't anything.
It was a 2 to 3 year transition, but they did an amazing job. He came from Canisius with Dave Smith, and Dave Smith was the first Division I adopter of our program. And Dave is a true student of our program. And I just did a podcast on my podcast with Dave and with the current head coach, Trevor Large. Phenomenal. If you want to know more about our program, and you're going to come on my podcast too, so you're coming up next. But Dave and Trevor, when you hear that interview, you're going to hear exactly what we do, because they won't pursue any player without talking to them through personalities and recruitment first. They won't do it. It's just, it ties their hands if they don't know enough information. They want to make sure that you, Jaclyn, if you're coming to my team, you're going to be the best fit. It's a win-win. It's got to be a good fit for you, but it's got to be a good fit for us. And it's not just a scholarship, it's an experience. We're trying to sell the experience. And you can't do that if you don't know the identity of the individual coming to the program. Make sense?
100% makes sense. And I just think about what we do within our academy. Like, I have these long, extensive phone calls with the family, the players, because I want to get to know them.
Yeah.
And make sure that they're going to do the work, that we get along well, that I know their personality, that we can actually help them. And I learned all of that through what you guys at Coaching to Connect taught us at UConn. Yeah. But people sometimes like, well, why can't we just sign up on your website to sign up for the course and get you to help us with the recruiting process and all this stuff? And I'm like, because I need to know who you are. Yeah. I need to know your personality. I need to figure out, are we going to gel? Are we going to, have this cohesive understanding that if I tell you what to do, you're actually going to do it. And if you don't do it, okay, I know your personality, so I know how to get under your skin to make you do it.
Yeah, and learning the personality, great point by you. Excellent point. And we talk about the performance mindset model, right? So there's personality is just a tool. DISC, Myers-Briggs, whatever tool you want to use, it's a tool. But I've had coaches say, "Well, we did the DISC thing and it doesn't work." Well, it's like saying, if I have a stick, right, I can play hockey. But there's some guys that have a stick that can do amazing things with it, right?
Yeah.
Don't get me to do a Connor McDavid or Sidney Crosby action with their stick because I can't do it. So it's the same tool. See what I mean? It's the same tool, but because someone learns how to use it better doesn't mean that it's not a good tool. Right. So many people have tried the DISC model in their coaching, but they haven't applied the science of it to how. So what, how, and why? What, how, and why? They got the what, but they haven't learned the how and the why. Right. So to me, it's really about the performance mindset model is about building trust. And that's what you guys at UConn were so good at doing. Chris and yourself, you guys were so good at building trust with the athletes. And once you had trust, now you could take them to battle. But they've got to trust you and you've got to trust them. It's relationships, it's character, right? And we do that through rapport. Rapport is simply finding common ground. Once you have rapport, and that's where we spend 90% of our time, communicate to build trust through rapport so you can synergize, perform, and succeed. And if it's not working, you just back up the circle, right? It's a perpetual model. So that's where we have success is we don't just apply DISC, we have a systematic program. And we also are very strong on culture. We want to make sure that we build a strong culture. Everybody's got to have shared values. You have to have the same values. If we talk to people that don't value family, right? How do we want to talk about family? They don't like family. Maybe they grew up in a family where they were abused. Maybe they grew up in a family where they were ignored. They weren't taught to be everything they can be. So they don't know how to interact in a family. You have to teach that. Those are things that you learn. As a D personality, I'm a hammer and everyone's a nail. I'm a hammer and I go bang, 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 bang. Well, people that tell me, say, Gord, people don't like the bang, 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 bang. Oh, okay. So what should I do? Well, fortunately, I connected with a man that helped me to understand that you train the people first, the athlete second. You train the people first, the athlete second. Win the people, you'll win the athlete, right? So it's about focusing on people, who they are before what they do. So that's a mind, body, spirit experience. Mind, body is where I lived as a coach, as a business owner. If you couldn't make me money in my business, if you couldn't win hockey games for me, I got rid of you. I fired you. I cut you. I traded you. I did whatever. Why? Because I was all about mind, body. I was about what you do, how you do it. I was all about the transactional values. What Lloyd Switzer, Butch, my friend Lloyd, we coached together for 11 years and we won 8 championships. But I learned from him how to see what people, who they are, not what they do. If they're good people, they have good morals, they want to make a success for themselves, they have the desire and drive to do it, we can teach them. That's the fields are ripe for you and I as coaches. When we have people that trust us, they believe in us, we have the same feeling about them, we trust them, we believe in them, we can do anything with them. But knowing personalities accelerates that process. It gets us to a starting point much quicker. Much quicker. And that's what we're trying to do as coaches, is to help people over that threshold to build confidence. How many athletes, Jaclyn, have you had that said, I've lost my confidence?
It was a daily conversation.
Yeah, absolutely. It's because they don't value themselves. And we talk about value proposition. We teach athletes about their value proposition. The term value proposition is simply this: what you bring to the table. And that's founded in that 2-page document that we give you. There are 9 things on the back page of that. On the front page, we tell you this is your personality. On the back page, we tell you 9 things that is part of your DNA code that you bring to the table, your value proposition. Now we work on helping you to understand that value so you build faith, have belief, have confidence, and belief is 85% of confidence. When you have confidence, you've got self-esteem. So that's how it all fits together. It's a tangled web, right? There's a lot to do. And that's why we said to Chris, when we wanted to join the team, we said, look, this is not a 3-month thing. This is a 2 to 3 year process. We're going to be with you for the next 2 to 3 years. We want you to commit to 2 to 3 years because this is an experience. Notre Dame, right? Canisius. These are all teams that we've won championships with. Colby, not just the men's hockey team, the men's soccer team. First time in the school's history, right? The basketball team, the baseball team at Canisius. right? These are all teams that we won championships with using the methodology. And those guys have all come on the podcast and explained exactly why this part of the program that you mentioned it before, the missing piece, they have all the skill.
Yep.
The mental side was the missing piece that they needed to join all the dots together. And it became almost effortless because they were such good players anyway.
So, okay, so you just said it's a 2 to 3 year process. I get it. We went through it. We did it.
Yep.
UConn's doing well now. It is like Colgate, every other team you've worked with, like there's proof. It's fact. It's not just a fairy tale here. But is that why, or is there a certain personality that is impatient, doesn't want to do it because it's going to take that long? And how do you get through to them to make them believe? And I guess the second part to the question is I'm thinking of players that, I want to play in college. I want to play in the national team. I want to play in the Olympics. But like, I just had Megan Duggan on the podcast the other day, and she's like, it took me 10 years to get there, 20 years to like I had this dream, this vision, this goal when I was a kid, but it took me like 20 years to get there. And how do you have the patience, or how do you have maybe it's a confidence belief thing, to keep pushing through when you hear it's going to take, quote unquote, that long?
Wow, that's a really big question. I think that, a lot of people attribute it to luck. But I think, in my opinion, Jaclyn, there's no such thing as luck. I treat luck as an acronym, and I call it's LUCK, laboring under correct knowledge. You have to know the right things to do at the right time for the right reason. Let me say that again. You have to know the right things to do at the right time for the right reason. But you see, part of my challenge as a young coach is I didn't know what I didn't know. I thought I knew enough to help people. Oh, you do this, you do that. And I thought I was an authoritarian, right? I was a disciplined authoritarian. Well, that's the lowest level of leadership. That's going to get the least amount of response, right? Servant leadership, die to self, serving others before yourself is really what's going to win people to your favor. If people like you, they're going to listen to you. If people respect you, they're going to listen to you. Here's 3 things that I teach people all the time. If you want to feed the beast, you got to know the basic needs. Personality profiles will teach you the basic needs. And if you feed the beast won't eat you. Right? And so here's the thing, is that I know every human on the planet, every single human being asks this one question. I call it the umbrella question. And we're getting a little off topic here, and I apologize. But the umbrella question is, what's in it for me? Every single human being on the planet is a selfish creature. That's how we're born. You have young kids. How many times have you told them no? They want to do everything for themselves. They take it off their brother or sister, right? They take things for them. It's all about them. You are teaching a individual personal culture of no, share, be kind, be considerate, say yes, please, say no, thank you, right? All the things. You're creating a personal culture, a family culture with your twins. So the same thing has to happen. It's a progress. It's a process. Right. But if we can accelerate that process, right? So I asked the question, what do farmers do? You and I've had this discussion, right? What do farmers do? Right? Farmers don't grow anything. That was my answer at this conference. The guy said, what do farmers do? I put my hand up. I said, they grow things. And he said, no, they don't. I thought, shoot, I thought that was a good question. But he said, no, actually, you're partly right. He said, the ground grows things, right? But farmers make conditions right for growth. They accelerate growth because they make conditions right. That's what you and I do as coaches. The reason the programs that used our program and did it well became students of the process and kind of let their guard down. The Greg Fargos, right? He's a DC type personality. He thought he had all the answers, and he brought us on for 1 year and he says, I think I got this. Guess what? Year 3, we were back, right? Because he understood he didn't quite have it, right? But he was such a great and a gracious student. So gracious, like he realized, he says, yeah, I messed up. I thought I knew, but I still need some extra coaching. But after year 3, like he's got it. He's got it figured out now. Dave Smith has got it figured out. But those guys, they keep us on. Why? Because we're an integral part of the ongoing process, right? We can help with the new guys coming on and they continue the growth. So for me, it's really about helping people understand where their deficiencies and inefficiencies are, and we can accelerate them to the higher level. We can speed up the process so it doesn't take 10 years. Don Knockbauer, Binghamton Senators. I was coaching in the AAA system for the Ottawa Senators, midget AAA guys like Ryan Spooner, Kevin Law, Mike Borkowski all played for us. We had a great team. Corey DeRoche, all NHL guys that were drafted, right? Anyway, we were invited to the big club. Randy Lee and Pierre Dorion brought us in. We worked with the Binghamton Senators and the Ottawa Senators. And that was the year Erik Karlsson was coming in, Jim O'Brien, Robert Lehner, all these guys. We profiled the whole team. I said to the head coach, Don Knockbauer, I said, these are the behaviors. This is what we're doing. Mark and I were in there together. And Don Knockbauer said to us, you've just shown me in 20 minutes what will take me normally 2 years to figure out. You've just increased the process of building a championship organization. When we looked at their circle chart, Jaclyn, there were almost all D's and C's on the team. I said, Don, you're set for a championship. You're poised for a championship. You just got to get all of these guys swimming in the same direction, rowing in the same direction. And guess what? The year later, they won the Calder Cup. You can't make this stuff up. Right? It's incredible, but it's knowing that you need to know and that you don't know everything.
Yeah.
You don't know everything. And that was my problem in the beginning, is that I thought I knew everything. And I had to kind of humble myself to be open and receptive and be a student of the game and a student to other people that just have more experience and information than I do.
Well, and it's no different than most college teams, other teams, or even individuals. They'll hire or work with a strength and conditioning coach, right, or a nutritionist to make sure they're feeding the body. Like, it's no different than what you're talking about and what you guys do. And having a team full of D's and C's, like, as soon as you said it, I was like, yep, they're going to win. They're going to win. But it doesn't mean you can't with I's and S's. You just have to be more relationship driven. And it's
like, I'm working with a midget AA team here in Ottawa, Silver 7 midget AA, and we did their profiles, and great young. We've been working with them for a month. Of course, with the COVID situation, we haven't been able to do very much, but we've been skating twice a week, and I'm getting to know these kids. They're a great bunch of kids. They're just really nice kids. And I'm thinking, I don't think there's a D in the bunch, right? And so we did their profiles. Out of 22 players, we have 12 S's.
Yep.
And it's a D sport. So I said to Dave Campbell, our head coach, and we're working together, I said, we got our work cut out for us.
Yeah.
We got to teach a lot of visiting.
Yeah. And you just said earlier when you were talking about this, like, as far as servant leadership, like, if people like you, they will respect you. And like right there, you're like, wow, these guys are really great. They're awesome. They're quote unquote nice. And you're like, yeah, there's no D's. They're all S's. And because they're relationship driven, right?
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted
to tell them to go to the corner. They go to the corner. I say, okay, line up here. They line up here. Right. And they always have questions. So they're SCs, right? I draw the this, you draw the drill on the board. They come up. Okay, coach, can you say that one more time? What about this? And what about that? I said, oh my gosh. So I have to explain.
That was me to a T my whole career. Wait, can you just show me how to do it? Like, I can't just go out there and do it right now. But
isn't it cool? Because I understand that there, as a D, before I say, okay, I'm not drawing it again. Yeah. Like, just get in line and do it. But then I'd have to blow the whistle, bring them back in again anyway.
And you get frustrated and angry.
Yeah, they get frustrated. I get frustrated. And they say, oh, so son, how was practice today? Coach lost his crap again today, right? And it's like, but now I know. I said, listen, I'm going to have to explain this drill 3 times. Yeah. So I'm going to draw it out. I'm going to explain it. Okay, let's do it again. You're going to go here, going to go there, and even after I draw it 2 or 3 times, 2 or 3 still have a question.
You're going to have to demo it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. They need to actually see it.
So that probably more than answers your question that you just asked. So I apologize.
No, that's awesome. And I love it. And I know we're going on different tangents here, but it's this whole conversation is fascinating to me. And we could go in a million different directions. If people who are listening, like, we got parents, we got kids, coaches, everyone else, we're in a pandemic. Yep. This isn't easy for anybody. You and I talked about this off the air for us as business owners, even in that respect, but like, how would you help? Or you're actually working with athletes right now and executives and everything else. Like, how do you help these people, these players, these athletes through these times if they have modified seasons or they're not even back on the ice yet? Like, what do they do?
That's a great question. And I think there's a lot of coaches that we work with, Merrimack and Colby and Canisius, all the different schools we're working with. I think it's about finding identity. Sports is being part of something very special that gives us a sense of belonging, where we can connect. We have shared values, a sense of identity. Distancing and isolation is tough, people were created for relationships, interaction. And without that, it accelerates anxiety, depression, mental health issues, physical conditions, feelings of isolation, and other emotional and even financial stresses, right? Because you can't make the money you need to make, right? But coaches and leaders should actively find ways to stimulate connections, whether it's interactive through Zoom or just phone calls, but finding creative ways to create a sense of purpose, a more consistent human interaction virtually or outdoors. Like, for instance, Colby, the baseball team, there's seniors, there's 8 seniors. And coach called me up. He said, "Hey, Gordo, I really feel bad. This guy's a high I. He's originally from Notre Dame, as a coach at Notre Dame. He's now the head coach at Colby for the baseball team. Great guy. Love him. He's a wonderful guy. Good friend of mine now." And he says, "Hey, Gordo, like, how do I help these seniors? Like, they're lost, right? This COVID has just really kicked the crap out of them." And I said, "Well, let's think of," we were on the phone just chatting it up and just thinking, and it just came to me. I said, "Why don't we do a senior legacy program?" And he said, "What do you mean?" Well, I said, "Why don't we give the seniors some assignments? Let's make them the focal point coaches. So we're going to create little mini pods. How many players do you have on your team?" He says, "We have about 40 players. So there's there's 8 seniors. Great. Each senior is going to get 5 players, and they're going to be responsible for their physical conditioning, helping them through school, making sure they're getting through that. And then when they go to the batting cage or when they go to the baseball field and they're practicing, they're going to practice in their pod. That's going to be their leadership legacy group. And so what's going to happen is when they play this season, they're going to have the number of the player on their helmet or on their hat. And they're going to actually play with that same number the following year, so that they're saying, "Hey, well, what's that number?" "Well, that's my senior." And each player that has, we create a banner and we put their number on it. And then the following year they come back and we have a senior legacy celebration. So now they're responsible for helping these other junior, sophomore, and freshman athletes to become more integrated into the program through the coaching staff. So the coaching staff gets tighter to the seniors get tighter to the rest of the team, and they leave a legacy. So that's kind of what we did. You have to be creative. You have to be creative and come up with programs that will help them get through these tough times, because we're all in it together, but we have to go through it together. You can't just say, "Well, just go get busy." No, we have to be creative. We have to make conditions right for growth, like the farmers.
Just like those farmers, they don't actually grow things. They just make the conditions right.
Yeah. Hopefully
That's
that
all it
answered
is.
your question.
No, it absolutely does. And I think it's again, I'm always trying to think of ways to provide value to whoever's listening. And like, we're all going through this together, like you said. And,
Yep.
even for parents, like, how do they help their kids? Maybe they're becoming distant or depressed, or there's anxiety and all these things. And I think at the end of the day, and correct me if I'm wrong, it's about really trying to get to know your own personality.
Yep.
And then get to know your kids, your teammates, your coaches' personalities, to figure out why there's the conflict. Because as soon as you know your personality, you know their personality. It's like that couple that, you saved their marriage. Like, they understood that they weren't actually angry at each other or having arguments because they didn't love each other.
Yep.
It was, they just didn't understand what made the other tick.
Raise awareness, just raising awareness.
So how do people find you then? There's people out there that are like, okay, like, where's this test? Like, let's find Gordon out there. Where is he? How can he help us? How can we find you?
I have a personal website, and I'm building my performance mindset website. It's a singular website. Obviously, my partner and I, Mark, we've kind of gone our individual ways, because Coaching to Connect has been hit so hard with this pandemic.
Yep.
But www.gordonmacfarlane.com is my personal site, and it kind of gets you an idea of where to start. And I just sent a note out on my Facebook page, which is called Performance Mindset Coach, which is a private page. People are invited in there for as invitation only. I have almost 800 coaches on that site. So I just put up on that site, just, hey, if you want to know your personality, and I'm going to give you a small tutorial on what your personality means, it's like a $99 event. And then I do one-on-one coaching as well. I do a group session for people that want to know their personality, but you can get their personality profile through me. And I do group sessions where I just say, okay, I'm going to teach you about your personality. I'll put you through a performance, what we call a personal power statement, where you actually create the words that sort of build up your confidence, and what you can go to when you start to feel your confidence is getting a little rattled. You got to go back to your personal power statement to build that up. So that starts with building your profile, and then going through the steps that I teach. Who are you as a player? Who are you as a person? Who are you as a teammate? Right? There's 3 separate identities, and that's really about understanding who you are, what you do, how you do it, and why.
Love it. Love it. And Gordon is not paying me to say this. I'm saying this from personal experience, but he's truly amazing. Him and Mark, unbelievable at what you guys do. And you changed the way that I coached players. And again, I'm an S, so I'm all relationship driven. But when I was sometimes uncomfortable talking to a D or an I, because they would come ask me a question and I gave them an answer and they would leave. And I was like, well, don't you want to hang out? Like, don't you want to talk to me? Like, what do you mean? You literally just wanted to know X, Y, Z. And I told you and you left. Right. Yeah. But through you guys and understanding this DISC model and everything else, I understood like they literally they're result driven. So they just wanted the answer and they're good. Like, made them happy.
And there's so much we don't know, Jaclyn? And I think you just have to be open and receptive and be a student. Just be a sponge. You don't have all the answers. You're not expected to have all the answers, right? Just be open and receptive and just be open to learning and growing. Yep.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I appreciate that. I'm going to wrap up here with a big one. You got 4 daughters, 4 daughters and a wife. Gordon, like karma, is that the universe playing tricks on you? Like, I don't know what this is.
Swim in a sea of estrogen.
I absolutely love that.
4 sisters too, right? 4 sisters. Yes, and my mom was a girl, so it just never ends.
Did you have any like dogs that were males or anything? Like,
nope, all nothing? Females.
Okay, yeah, of course. Why not? Okay, so as a parent, as a grandparent, as a brother, if you could go back when your siblings, your daughters, even the grandkids now at this age, basically, what would you tell them to set them up for success, to be happy?
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's one that's really important. And unfortunately, when I started to learn some of these things in the late 80s with Dale Carnegie and Florence Littauer in the early 90s, my kids were still fairly young. They were still at the age where we could have a good impression on them. So I think there's 3 important attitudes you must kind of take ownership of. And this is what I passed on to my girls. And I do the same thing for my coaches, my athletes, my business leaders that I work with, and like the glass company that we work with, the hundreds and hundreds of leaders that we talk to. 3 things. I say, first of all, there has to be an element of passion. You got to love what you do and do what you love. If you don't love what you do, you're going to work every day. But if you absolutely love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life. Like for the last 20 years, I don't know where the 20 years has gone. Honestly, it feels like I just got started because I love what I do. I absolutely love delivering the message of performance mindset. To me, I don't know that I would do anything else. Number 2, remember, every one of us is in the people business. Get to know yourself better, raise your personal awareness, know others so you can build better teams and serve others. If you help enough other people get what they want, you'll get what you want. These are things that I've taught to my children and my girls. 3 of my girls, okay, are business owners as I personalities, right? So I have 4 daughters, I, and my wife and I are D's. So God does have a sense of humor, right? So the number 3 thing I would say, and this is my girls, remember this, I would tell them this all the time. Always do more than people ask you to do. Be the hardest worker in the room. Outwork everyone, and they will never be disappointed in you. If they say start at 8, be there 15, 20 minutes early. If they say clean up your area and help other people clean up their areas too. I say that to kids now. Hey, pick up that paper. It's not mine. Doesn't matter, right? It's on the floor. It's garbage. It should be in the garbage can. I didn't put it there, right? Always do more than people ask you to do, and they'll never be disappointed in you. Those are the 3 things that I taught my kids. And I think that's what I've been teaching coaches and business leaders for the last 20 years. And it seems to be working quite well.
100% it has, and it is, and it will continue to. And I'm so grateful that our listeners got to hear from you today. I have a funny feeling I might get you back on here at another time.
There's probably a few things we didn't cover, right?
I know. There's so much that we could go into, and we'll do that again at another episode. But I appreciate you, what you're doing, how you're helping coaches and players and business owners, executives. Like you do it all, because at the end of the day, like you said, we're in the business of people. And
changing lives and making a difference. Hey, Jaclyn.
That's it. That's what we're here. That's why we're doing what we're doing. So I appreciate it. Again, if anyone wants to find Gordon, it's GordonMacfarlane.com, correct?
Yep. GordonMacfarlane.com, GordonMacfarlane.com. And my performance mindset coach website is up, but it's connected to that site, my Gordon Macfarlane site, but it's under construction like yours is. We're changing pages, and with the pandemic, I'm changing a few programs, and I'm looking forward to having you on the podcast, Jaclyn. I think it'll be a great interview as well.
Thank you. I look forward.
I really respect and admire what you do.
Thank you. And it's mutual. So I appreciate that. And Everyone else, thank you so much for listening. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy, and keep chasing your dreams.